Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And so now we know why Venom Let's There Be Carnage was in fact delayed. So Venom 2, as I wish they would have just called it, but Let There Be Carnage is what they're calling it, because I guess they like catchy titles now rather than actually calling it 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? That's, I guess, what the studios are doing now, for the most part, with the exception, I guess, of Deadpool. But nonetheless, Venom Let There Be Carnage is delayed, not because of the fact that they're afraid that the movie theaters won't be open by October. Because I do believe the movie theaters will be open by October. If the theaters aren't open by October, then we're really going to be in crazy doo-doo. That's just my take on it. But the reason why is not because of the month that they're delayed, but the reason is that Venom was filmed very late. Venom was filmed in somewhere in between the time of end of December into January, and to my understanding, is that they finished in late January. They finished filming in late January, so they had all the film done. Like, they filmed the whole movie. They filmed like all the stuff that they needed and whatnot to, have a full movie. The thing is after you film a movie, that's not it. You still have to edit. You still gotta, make the trailers, post-production, reshoots possibly, etc., the whole 9 yards. And if you want to add some stuff in there later on. So all that stuff has to be done. So Venom did their filming late, which, again, even them filming it late still doesn't mean that they wouldn't have been able to not get the film out by the same calendar year. They could start filming by early January, have filmed the whole movie by the end of January, and then have the film out later that year by October. It's very, very realistic. A lot of films used to be able to do that, and still they kind of do that today. Not as much. Usually people film a year before it comes out, but it is not unrealistic to do this. The problem is because of early March, we got this whole coronavirus thing that came up. Because of this, everybody at Sony, as well as pretty much every other worker across the United States, pretty much everyone had to go home. They were forced to go home by the government, basically. And so Sony had to basically, well, it wasn't really their decision, but you get what I'm saying. They had to go home. And because of that, Sony, as a company, lost 2 months of what could have been working on the film, because obviously Sony's going all out on this film, and while it does seem like they are rushing the film, they really weren't. They were getting everything out. Obviously Sony was putting all their resources into this film because this is their big money maker. Far From Home made $1 billion, and I'm sure they want Venom 2 to do this as well too. Venom 1 made just around the same money as Homecoming did, and this was their sequel for Venom, just like how Spider-Man's solo movie was Far From Home was the sequel that they made pretty much all the money for that in. And they probably wanted it to probably be the best product that they could be. And while they were putting it out pretty late, at the same time, if there had been no pandemic, that's 2 months where they could have been working on possible reshoots or possible, cuts and edits, or adding stuff into the movie that they hadn't done yet. There were a lot of things that they they could have been doing in the last 2 months that they weren't allowed to because they had to sit at home because of COVID-19. So these things happened. By April, they probably, when they, released the title of what Venom 2 was going to be called, that's probably when they would have had the trailer, the first trailer, either that or in May, had there not been this whole COVID-19 thing. So they would have had all that done, and then probably would have had the film finished by July. I'm just guessing, probably around that ballpark, and they would have, released a couple of trailers. They would have had the one in April or May, and then they would have the next one probably in August, and then by September they'd probably have had the last trailer. They probably had everything all done, ready to go, and then by October they would have had it, out there, and it would have been still the best product film that you would have gotten, despite the fact that they did it all within the calendar year, because they would have had they were focusing on it. Obviously, Sony's main focus for this year was the Venom film, compared to all the other films that they're doing, because of how much it made. This is the film that they're pretty much I think for the most part, they're hands-on. There's other projects they're doing. Obviously, they're doing the Morbius film too, as well as other stuff outside of Marvel's universe characters, but this was the film that they were hands-on on. Obviously with the Spider-Man solo film, that's all, Kevin Feige and the MCU, but this one was mostly them. And then we don't know if Kevin Feige is involved in some way with Venom. I mean, obviously he was a consultant in the last Venom film, but he really didn't have that much say in the Venom film. I mean, he just kind of was there, kind of giving them suggestions. He really wasn't that involved with it. A lot of people were saying that he was secretly involved, and that's not true. He was involved, but he wasn't involved. Like, he was kind of just giving suggestions here and there to them. He didn't really, have 100% say, like, change this, change it. Like, he didn't have that, no. We don't know if that's the case this year, or for Venom 2, because obviously they have a director that, is kind of close to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so maybe it's different now, but you get the point, though. So, this is why it had to be delayed. It's not like with Wonder Woman or a lot of the other Warner Brothers titles that were delayed, but only by a couple of months. Those films were filmed like last year, and were all put into post-production already, reshoots, etc. And that's why Warner Brothers, for the most part, a lot of their films that are only delayed by a couple of months are coming out still this year, despite them, them running the risk of possibly not having the movie theaters across the United States open. I know for me, at least I can only speak for my state in New York, we just got into Phase 2 a couple of days ago, and Phase 2 only lets you get a haircut, pretty much, which is what I got on June 2nd. I finally was able to get my haircut. So I think we can get retail stuff open, but movie theaters being open, regular movie theaters being open is in, I think Phase 4. Just keep that in mind, that we still, in my state at least, still have 2 phases we have to go through before we even get to movie theaters being open. So, this is pretty much why Venom was delayed. It had nothing to do with them getting the movie out by the October date, in terms of, them being worried that COVID-19 will still force movie theaters to be closed by October. That's not what they're worried about. They're worried about the film that they probably would have had finished by October, had there been no pandemic. But because there was a pandemic and they had to send everybody home, they had to stop working on the film. And because they had to stop working on the film, that pretty much forced them to delay it until next year. Because again, when it comes to Venom, you want this film to be the best possible film you can get. You want this film to be getting $1 billion, just like Far From Home, which I do believe it is capable of getting it. I know a lot of people cringe from the title, but honestly, I don't think the title is that bad of a title. Could they have had a better title? Yes, but I don't think Let There Be Carnage is not a bad title. But yes, they definitely could have had a better title. I mean, there's many studios that can have better titles. And there's been, I'm almost certain, many films that have had cringy titles that have still done good. So I don't think the title should cause any concern. The first film was good. I'm almost certain the second film's going to even be better. They have a better director in there. The guy who was the director for the last film was a brand new director. And he did pretty good for Venom 1. Now they have a more experienced director in the second one, so why would I think this film wouldn't be as good as the first one? Don't really pay too much attention of the title. Really, it really doesn't matter. As long as the film ends up being really good, that's really should be the most important thing. Besides, I think they're saving the Maximum Carnage title for Venom 3. That's just me though, thinking that. Because I don't think I don't think Carnage is gonna die in this film. I think it's gonna lead into the third film. But I don't know. That's just my take on it, though. But yeah, that's why Venom was delayed. It had nothing to do with the movie's opening. To my understanding, it had nothing to do with the movie theaters being opened in time. It was more of the film not being done in time. They didn't have all the reshoots and the editing done, and that's why they had to delay the film. Because they decided to film it very late and have it start filming at the beginning of the calendar year of when they wanted the movie to come out, which they can do that, but they can't have a pandemic coming down and basically costing them 2 months of being able to do all the production that they needed to do after filming the film. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And they need to make this film the best possible film they can, because this is the film that's going to make them the most money. And they kind of need that. They kind of need that money if you want to keep doing this MCU deal with with Marvel, because that's probably what's gonna allow them to kind of coexist, so to speak. If you ever want like the Venom to like cross over into the MCU or whatnot, because right now it seems like Marvel Studios and Sony Marvel are kind of doing the whole you scratch my back, I scratch your back type deal. So maybe eventually they'll kind of work something out where they can all coexist. I don't know. I'm just kind of, assuming stuff right now, So, but again, that's the point right here. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, if you like my videos, please subscribe, and also if you comment, rate. If you are a new subscriber, please subscribe. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell. I do have a Discord link in the description box, and that is about it. I am the SS Ultimate Goku Moderator. Peace!